What is going on, everybody? This is the Fresh Baked Goods, and thank you for clicking on another Hell Let Loose video. We are back again with another dev briefing, and this is a big one. Really, Team 17 just came out and announced what their focus is for the remainder of 2023, and they're changing up all their plans. And now, before we do dive into this, I will post the link to this dev brief in the description of this video, as well as the comments. I highly recommend going through and reading it yourself, because there is a lot of information in here. I will not cover every single sentence in this. So again, please go check it out. But let's dive into some of the more important things here. So like I was saying, the bottom line is T17 is changing the focus for Hell Let Loose for the remainder of the year. They had this initial plan with all this new content and new factions for later this year. That is now being pushed aside for a later date, and the rest of the year will be focused on bug fixing, quality of life improvements, and really just improving every core aspect of the game that they possibly can. And they go into this by saying, for the remainder of 2023, we'll be focusing on attempting to address some of the issues that have been raised by the community. In doing so, our efforts to deliver the original 2023 roadmap will instead change focus to a slower speed of content delivery, bringing you more 100-player warfare and offensive maps alongside existing planned cosmetic DLC, as we continue to work on resolving as many bugs as possible and begin the planning for a longer-term future of Hell Let Loose alongside the community. With this shift in focus, we will now begin working towards delivering more patches rather than major content updates, beginning with patches 14.2 and 14.3. So they do go into detail about what they want to accomplish in these patches, but it's important to note update 15 is not really mentioned in this. That was supposed to happen this month. That is pushed back. The new game mode, which we'll talk about, is not coming just yet. It's going to be patches before update, which I think is a very good call. At this point, there is enough content in this game to really satisfy any average Hell Let Loose player. If some of these bugs and improvements are fixed and made, it will go so much further than dropping new maps. We saw this with the British stuff, for example. 2 new British maps came out, and honestly, they kind of already died off a little bit. They're not as big as hype as they were when they're coming out. So I think Team 17 actually realized this. They say, hey, let's double down on fixing the game before we release more content for it. So the first thing they mentioned is player locomotion speed and dive to prone. And they mentioned they are rolling back the speed acceleration and the top speed and the dive to prone to how it was pre-U14. So if you were a fan of the speed increase, this is kind of a bummer. I know a lot of people weren't, so they'll appreciate this, but it is important to understand why they're rolling this back. Someone like myself really does want infantry to be faster in this game, but you can't go about it how Team 17 went about it. You can't just turn that knob up and expect everything else to work. You turn that knob up and it messes up a lot of stuff in the game. So despite the infantry actually being a little bit smoother with the speed increase, it caused so many more issues. It wasn't the right way to go about it. And Team 17 goes on to say, we understand that there are members of the Hell Let Loose community who will be disappointed with the decision to remove the increase in speed. However, recent fixes intended to reduce the impact of these changes haven't been as successful as we had hoped. This led to further investigations to be carried out to understand the deeper components of Hell Let Loose, including vehicles and how these currently affect our ability to make balancing tweaks without impacting the wider game. So they put the speed increase in, and while infantry did feel better in a way, it messed everything up with vehicles and tanks and really just the whole meta gameplay. And it did improve some stuff, but it messed so many other things up. It just wasn't the right way to go about it. So what I think they're going to do is they'll roll it back, and then they're kind of going to start over again. They're not saying they're never going to increase the speed for infantry again. They just have to go about it with balancing everything else around it at the same time. And this kind of wording makes me feel like they realize that. So smart decision from T17. If you did like the speed increase, I'm sorry, it's going back. We're going to be snails again, but here's hoping in the future we get something bigger and better. Next up, they do mention the new game mode here briefly with under this Brecourt map section. The new game mode is not coming, obviously, this next month. They're going to wait and hold off on it, put it on the back burner, and before it does come, they're going to run it through some PTEs, so which I think is a smart move when you're introducing a new mode that's so different than what's already in the game. Nobody really knows how it's going to play. It's something that's not complementary to Hell Let Loose's gameplay. So this is going to take some testing, take some getting used to, and I think this is the right way of going about that. Next thing they touch on is the British forces. They go on to say, we know that many of you, after years of being promised, have felt the initial introduction to the British forces to be underwhelming. We want to build upon these forces and are committed to reworking and expanding them, including introducing more historically accurate weapons and uniforms, such as desert uniforms for both the British and German forces, as well as making updates to the existing loadouts. So I think this is what everyone wants to hear. Obviously, the British content was light in general, but the guns didn't work right, the tanks don't work right. There's a lot wrong with them that needs to be looked at, and they're going to do that. You know, they go on to say that not only are they going to rebalance some items, they're going to rework some items from the ground up. You know, this is tackling things like weapon sway, bolt handle animations, and weapon fire rate, and making sure everything's correctly zeroed. So they're really gonna nail this stuff down and make sure it plays well, which is great to hear. They do mention this will be coming in patch 14.3, so not the next one, it'll be the one after it, but hey, dude, it's a win that they're actually looking at the stuff and gonna work on it. And probably the biggest thing about this dev brief is the basic training environment. This will be coming in patch 14.3 as well. And with this basic training environment, not only does it include a reworked field manual, it also has basic video tutorials as well as a practice range. And the practice range is obviously the biggest thing out of this because it will be a solo experience on the US forces and introduce a new environment for players to test out weapons and vehicles without needing to be in a live game. Many of you will know that each update can radically shift aspects of the game, and we will be updating the practice range to reflect this, while also including other forces as we continue development. So anything that teaches players how to play this game, I am always 100% for. While we don't know specifically what's going to be in this practice range, we do have a couple images of some tanks, some dummies, as well as some barbed wire and obstacles. I am really hoping there's something in here to show people how to build a garrison or an OP or something, because that's obviously the most important part of the game, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, at the very least, this is a good thing still, because it just gives players more opportunity to learn the game, even if it's not garrisons and OPs and spawn points and metas and whatnot. It's a good start because they're going to keep updating it. They're going to keep working on it. It's a good start and a step in the right direction to help players learn this game. Next, there is a small portion about the in-game store. I'm not going to spend time on this. I will just read two things. They say the store will never offer any to pay to win items or offer non-historical cosmetics that break immersion, i.e. pink camouflage. They also say, we also want to assure the community that no resource has been diverted from bug fixing for the implementation of this feature. Honestly, this is not a big deal. It's basically the Steam store, but they're going to put it in game, so whatever. Moving on. Next up, there's a small little section here about bug fixing, but it contains some pretty important stuff. They say, with the moving back of our Brecourt map and objective game mode, patch 14.3 will predominantly focus on bug fixing, aiming to tackle a range of bugs and issues, including in-game stutter, Panther reload speed, Firefly frontal damage, British gun sights, British weapon sway, British weapon fire rate, British weapon bolt animations, correctly zero British weapons, doubled explosion VFX, ultra widescreen support, servers missing from server browser, and for the Xbox, missing weapon audio. So this is a small little section, but damn, there's some big things in here. We're going to talk about the in-game stuttering in a couple minutes here, but it's awesome to see that they're working on it, potentially getting a patch out by 14.3. Panther reload speed is massive and has been asked for a very long time now. And then they have all the British stuff, which is great. They're acknowledging it. They're going to be working on it. And doubled explosion VFX, that's fantastic. That bug is annoying as hell. And some other couple bugs in here. So there's a lot of cool stuff in here that is in this small little portion that I thought deserved a mention, because these are some very common complaints. The next section, honestly, is Team 17 being more transparent than they have to be, which is awesome. You love to see it. They basically talk about the loadout bug, grenade bug, a couple balancing things, and console server browsing, but it's great to hear. They break these things down, and they're not easy problems to solve, and they're really trying to explain to us that they're working on them, and there's not easy fixes for some of these things. And as far as console server browsing goes, I really hope the players on console get this, because it is so key to finding good Hell Loose matches and finding places to call home in this game. So I really, really hope you guys get console server browsing soon. It sounds very positive there. And all that said, they are giving us tiny little bits of content here, even though despite them focusing on fixes. The Summer Warfare DLC is coming back on July 13th. So make sure you grab that. It's free. There's really cool cosmetics in there. And then we are getting one new night variant map of Sainte Marie Dumont, which is awesome. People have been asking for night variations of these core maps for a while, so we're finally getting one, and it's just a refreshing change of pace for map rotations. So glad to see it. Good job. On July 19th, Team 17 will be doing a Reddit Ask Me Anything. So if you want to reach out to them, go bug them. July 19th on Reddit. They're going to be answering all your questions. They're going to be going into detail about stuff. And then after that, if you didn't know, myself and Razbora do a podcast together on Raz's Twitch channel. We're actually going to do one with Team 17. So we're going to take information and questions from that AMA as well as elsewhere from our communities and whatnot. And we're going to put together our own podcast and go into more detail about some of these things with Team 17. That'll be really cool. There's not a lot of info on that just yet, but I can tell you it'll be pre-recorded and we'll have a date for you soon. And it will be posted on this channel here. So, hey, if you want to see us talk to Team 17, make sure you subscribe. And they do go into a little bit of detail about the PTEs. So the next PTE for 14.2 will actually be on July 20th. So you're looking at next week. Make sure you go over to the Hell Loose Discord. That's usually where the best way to capture all the info for PTEs is. But I would imagine it's going to be that same separate client that we all have. But again, make sure Hell Loose Discord, that's where all the info comes through. So go check it out. And there's one more section of important stuff here. Just like they went into detail with the loadout bug and grenade bug and whatnot, they go into detail about the rubber banding, stuttering, and game analytics. And again, Team 17 being transparent, really telling us how it is, and it's freaking awesome to hear. I wish more game developers did this. But the news with the rubber banding is they think, and this is all PC server related, so I don't know what's going on console there. Hopefully it's the same shit. So with the rubber banding, they think they have a fix. They've been testing it out on a few servers on PC, ours included, for the vehicle rubber banding, and it was in a server command line that they had to change something. And like I said, they tested it out on our server for a few weeks now, and it has worked amazingly. There's been absolutely hardly, I think there's been one instance of rubber banding, and I'm not even sure if this was the same issue or just server lag, but I have experienced zero rubber banding in tanks and vehicles on our servers since we've implemented this fix. So it's looking very positive. I've been hearing positive things from the other test servers. So hopefully they roll that out for everybody soon, because it seems like they have fixed it. So the biggest one here is about the stuttering. This is why you read the dev blog, because they go into very extreme detail on this. But really it all comes down from a process called world origin rebasing, and this has messed things up. But they've figured out what is causing it, but they're left with the choice. They can either keep bandaging this thing up, keep slapping band-aids and patching it up over and over again, or they can rebuild it, which, you know, can have a problem of its own. It can affect performance. So they have to make a decision. They have to try some things out. But the bottom line is they know where the problem is, and they feel they have some solutions. They just have to figure out which one is best. So it's not simple. It's not easy, but they're trying to make the best decision, and that is pretty refreshing to hear. And lastly, they just wanted to mention game analytics. They're not messing anything up. They have no performance impact or anything like that, and they're going to be really helpful. So good to see they debunked that. They kind of got rid of that myth, because I honestly thought it was messing some stuff up. So I'm a dummy, and thank you Team 17 for looking out for that stuff. And lastly, I do want to read this message from the studio, because they did take the time to put together this nice dev brief, which I think has a lot of stuff that people want to hear. But they say, thank you for continuing to support Hell Let Loose. We know this dev brief is a long one, so we won't keep you any longer. But we hope it has made our intentions clear. We want to work with you on building a Hell Loose that you enjoy and aim to resolve as many issues as we can. As always, we will make sure to keep you up to date with our progress, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you on the front line. So, yeah, big dev brief, a lot of stuff, some big changes, but overall, this is, honestly, there's nothing in here that I can't really argue against. There's nothing in here that I'm really displeased about. A lot of this, if not all of it, is really good news, or at least understandable. The things they can't fix, they're explaining to us why they can't fix them right away. Things like the sprint speed being reverted, they're explaining why they're reverting it. Now, obviously, this is only just words, so we have to wait and see how these patches hit, how they play, make sure nothing else breaks. But, I mean, can't argue. This is great what they're saying here. This is everything everyone wanted to hear. This is absolutely a step in the right direction for them, and I think what they're now planning for the rest of the year is the right thing to do, and I am 100% behind it. And again, like I always say, I want nothing more than Hell Let Loose to be a success. You know, I want this game to succeed. I don't want to see it die. I don't want to see it buggy. I don't want to see it messed up. I want Team 17 to come out here and knock it out of the park. And what they're saying here, you know, I can get behind this. So I fully back what they're saying here, and I'm very excited for these patches. I'm very excited for these issues to get fixed, because I think we have a good game that's just on the brink of being a freaking great game. And it seems like they realize that, and they want that too. So this video has gone on long enough. Thank you guys for watching. I'll come back whenever we get more info. But yeah, like I said, link to this dev brief in the comments and description. Thank you for watching. Thank you for everything you do. I'll see you dudes on the front line.